If you enjoyed this story, if this message touched your heart, please consider subscribing right now. It would mean so much, truly, because I create many more stories just like this one. Stories of wisdom, of compassion, of healing. Stories that help us return to what really matters. Your support keeps this channel alive, and your presence here makes it meaningful. Thank you from the bottom of my heart. You are wonderful. You are enough. Have you ever sat in the middle of a crowded room, yet felt completely invisible? They say, eating alone is pitiful, but isn't it more terrifying when you can't even stand being alone with yourself? Ethan, he had everything: wealth, love, a family. But when all of it was gone, he didn't just lose people. He lost something deeper, something quieter, something most of us ignore until it's too late. The ability to sit with silence and still feel whole. What if being alone isn't a curse, but a hidden doorway to peace? Ethan used to live a life many would envy: a spacious apartment, a loving wife, a daughter with eyes that sparkled like spring mornings, and a firm that bore his name. His days were filled with laughter, dinner parties, and family trips. He thought it would last forever. But life changes. One rainy night, Ethan stayed behind at the office. Just one meeting. His wife and daughter drove through the storm. They never made it. The crash was sudden, the grief eternal. In 1 week, he buried them both, signed away his company, and locked himself in a silent apartment. Friends stopped calling, neighbors avoided him, but he didn't care. He didn't even cry. He just disappeared, not from the world, but from himself. Months passed. Ethan wandered, no direction, no purpose. He slept on benches, ate leftovers, spoke to no one. One cold morning, his feet led him up a trail. He didn't know where, didn't care why. Maybe he was looking for a place to die. But what he found was a monastery. Old, quiet, wrapped in fog and moss. An old monk, sweeping leaves, looked up, said nothing, just smiled and pointed toward a guest room. Ethan stayed one night, then another, then a week, then a month. He didn't speak, didn't ask questions. He just watched, listened. The monks woke before dawn, chanted, cooked, meditated. No phones, no noise, no expectations, only space. One sunset evening, the old monk approached. "You carry a mountain," he said, "but mountains were never meant to be carried." And Ethan cried for the first time in over a year. That night, he sat under a Bodhi tree, closed his eyes, and breathed. Deep, slow, real. Something shifted. Days turned into seasons. He stayed. He shaved his head, wore robes, swept the same courtyard. He learned to listen, not to people, but to his pain. The grief never left. But it softened. It changed. It stopped being a blade and became a teacher. Years passed. Travelers came. Some lost, some silent, all searching. One day, a young woman arrived, eyes red, heart broken. She whispered, "I came here to disappear." Ethan didn't preach, didn't say it gets better. He just handed her a broom. "Sweep," he said, "one leaf at a time. When the wind blows more, sweep again. You'll understand." She stayed. Like Ethan, she learned. Loneliness isn't the absence of people, it's the absence of self. And being alone can become coming home. There is a saying in Buddhist teachings: when the mind is still, the truth is revealed.
Loneliness is not about people.
Not about how many friends you have or how many messages light up your screen. It's about presence with yourself. You can be surrounded and still feel abandoned. You can be completely alone and still feel whole. Why? Because loneliness is not outside of you. It lives inside. Ethan didn't heal by finding someone new. He healed by finding himself. He learned to sit with silence, to breathe with pain, to smile with grief. And in that stillness, he found peace. We often run from silence because silence is loud. It echoes. It brings up every wound, every regret, every shadow. But if you stay long enough, you'll see those shadows. They're not here to hurt you. They're here to teach you. The Buddha said, the root of suffering is attachment. Attachment to praise, to comfort, to being needed. Attachment to distractions that help us avoid ourselves. But what if you let go? What if you treated solitude as sacred, not punishment, not exile, but a return to your temple, your body, your breath, your being? Because the truth is, the most important relationship is the one you have with you. And if that one is broken, every other one will break too. Reflection. Prompt. Chenjoan pause trokki hoi. Let me ask you, have you ever truly chosen to be alone? Not because someone left you, but because you needed to find yourself? Or are you still filling every quiet space with noise, still scrolling, still escaping, still afraid of what silence might say? And tell me, do you believe people who enjoy solitude are strong or just broken? Are they brave or just hiding? Go on, write it in the comments. Let this be a space where silence speaks, where strangers reflect, where healing begins. Together, even in stillness. Ethan spent the rest of his days on that mountain, not as a guru, not as a monk, not even as a teacher, just as a man who had made peace with himself. He had no followers, no fame, no fortune, only a garden to tend, a cup of tea, and the sound of wind through pine trees. He smiled more, spoke less, and when people came looking for wisdom, he offered silence. Not empty silence, but sacred silence. One morning, he didn't wake up. There was no drama, no sadness, only stillness. On the table beside him, a wooden bowl, a folded robe, and a single note written by hand. Learn to sit with yourself, and you will never fear being alone again. That afternoon, people walked up the mountain. They didn't cry, they didn't shout. They bowed, lit incense, and whispered, "Thank you." Not because Ethan saved their lives, but because he showed them how to save their own. So now, I ask you, have you learned to sit with yourself? Or are you still running, still searching, still scrolling, still begging someone else to fill what only you can hold? Look around.
Is the noise still louder than your own breath? Has the world become so loud that you've forgotten how your heart sounds in stillness? Here's your sign. If you've been waiting for a moment, this is it. Tonight, just once, put the phone away, turn off the lights, no music, no voices. Sit with yourself, with your breath, with your truth. And if it hurts, let it. Because healing doesn't come from escaping pain. It comes from sitting with it, from befriending it. A gentle challenge. Spend 1 hour, just one, with no distractions. Feel what rises, notice what you fear, and ask, why? Then, come back here tomorrow
Write a comment. Tell us what you found when you finally met yourself. Now tell me, do you think solitude is a gift or a curse? Is being alone freedom or punishment? Should we teach our children to love their own company? Or should we always push them to be social even when they feel empty? Your thoughts matter. Say them out loud, right here, in the comments. Someone else might need your truth to find their way home. Final words. If this story touched you, don't keep it. Share it with someone who needs to hear. They are not broken. They are not lost. They are just being called back to themselves. And maybe that calling sounds a lot like silence. Until next time, live gently, walk slowly, breathe deeply, and remember, being alone is not the same as being lonely. It might just be your soul finally asking for your attention. Like, comment, share. If this story meant something to you, then maybe it's meant for someone else too.